To the chosen ones, lend me your ears. The gravest error one can commit is to believe the flames they ignite won't eventually consume their own dwelling. Read that sentence once more. Your ex didn't merely depart. They struck the match, grinning as the inferno raged. Now, they're astonished the smoke has trailed them home. Here's a truth they're terrified to utter. They participated in a spiritual transgression against a soul the universe had already marked as extraordinary. You weren't just another contact in their phone. You were a living marvel in human form. Yet they treated you like an expendable part, collaborating with gossip mongers and low-vibe opportunists, convinced the universe wasn't observing. Let me amplify this for those in the back. You cannot mishandle a person who entered your life as a blessing and expect to depart with blessings. Energy simply doesn't operate that way. And now, the bill has arrived at their doorstep. The unseen warfare. Your ex didn't just break your heart, they desecrated your spirit. They recognized your brilliance, felt your allure, yet gambled with your heart as if it were a cheap token in some cosmic arcade. Now, the universe has come to collect. A simple breakup is one thing. Love fades every day. But what they orchestrated was covert warfare. They didn't just move on. They allied with your detractors, reveled in your anguish, ridiculed your healing, and attempted to exchange your light for chaos. The wildest part? They believed karma was dormant. Karma is never asleep. It meticulously records names, inscribes every detail, and then it waits. And oh, how it waits. Now they're on edge, sleepless, unfocused. Every breeze feels sour, every room icy. Why? Because they're haunted by the void your energy left behind. Chosen one, your aura is not commonplace. You weren't merely a partner. You were a divine lifeline. They severed that connection, and now they gasp in the ensuing silence. Deep down, they comprehend they were never equipped for someone like you. You manifested too authentically, too purely, too powerfully, and that shook them to their core. Rather than elevating themselves, they sought to drag you down. When that failed, they blamed you, seeking refuge in the crowd, allowing others to tarnish your name while they smirked, presuming victory. But spiritual offenses don't earn accolades. They reverberate. They manifest as visions, as repercussions. Now, your voice infiltrates their dreams. Your face appears in strangers. Your energy surfaces in places you've never visited. They relentlessly search for you in every smile, returning empty-handed. The ironic twist. They were certain you were replaceable, yet their so-called upgrade feels hollow. They didn't just lose a partner. They lost protection. They lost the prayers whispered in their favor, the light you brought into their darkest corners. That ache isn't transient, it echoes. So if you've questioned your worth, wondering if they ever genuinely cared, accept this as affirmation. They didn't simply err, they violated a cosmic decree by abandoning someone sent to uplift them. They assisted in constructing their own trap, and now reside within its shadow. The broken covenant. They didn't just lose a lover, they spat upon grace. The most perilous fool mistakes divine protection for ordinary affection and discards it like refuse. Your ex transgressed a sacred boundary. They didn't merely exit a relationship, they walked away from a spiritual contract, shrugging as if it were inconsequential. When the universe assigns someone to your life, someone bearing power, purpose, and protection, betrayal incurs severe consequences. Chosen one, you weren't a temporary stop. You were a portal, a transformation, a complete upgrade in human form. Instead of honoring that, they treated you like a mere pit stop on their path to ruin. Now they ponder why nothing aligns, why peace eludes them, why every door feels cursed. The explanation is simple. They shattered a covenant, not merely a connection. When you engage with a chosen soul, You enter an agreement. I am walking alongside a person on assignment. With that comes covering, elevation, safety, and penalties when broken. Many never grasped it, but the reason your ex began to prosper immediately after your arrival was your spiritual authority. You ushered blessings into their space, their endeavors, their consciousness. That serenity they experienced was your energy. That order amidst their chaos was your discipline. Those sudden breakthroughs were your light attracting them. They deemed you too emotional, too intense, too serious. They believed they could ghost you, lie, distort facts, cheer with those who wished you harm, and escape unscathed. Look at them now. Bewildered, depleted, paranoid, spiritually bankrupt. When you betray someone with universal backing, you forfeit more than love. You lose cover. Those subtle blessings, the unseen hand, shielding you from enemies and smoothing your path, are gone. Now they stand exposed. Perhaps they're online, posting jubilant smiles, feigning advancement. Behind that screen is a mind filled with echoes, for they know they relinquished something they'll never replicate. There's no substitute for a chosen one. The universe doesn't dispense souls like yours on every street corner. Some will argue, isn't it just a breakup? Can't people leave if it isn't working? Certainly no one is here to imprison another. But remember, departing with respect differs from spiritual betrayal. Choosing calm differs from waging war against someone's soul. Your ex didn't merely fall out of love. They descended into darkness. Instead of reaching for your hand, they reached for gossip, temptations, cowardice. They collaborated with your spiritual adversaries, helped drag you down, then wondered why their life crumbled. They didn't just abandon a partner, they abandoned their ascending path. Their most fatal error wasn't in their words, it was in what they touched. They handled something sacred, disrespected it, mocked it. Now those same hands cannot grasp anything good. Some knew precisely who you were. They recognized your distinctiveness, but presumed your grace meant you'd perpetually remain. They thought you would always forgive, always return, always dim your light to make them appear taller. The moment you severed the cord, silence transformed into warfare. You were never just some person. You were a divine mirror. Once you departed, they confronted their true reflection. And it wasn't pleasant. They mourn potential, not merely love. That grief is brutal because it's linked to the version of themselves you endeavored to help them become. Wonder why their new connections don't endure. Why their peace feels staged. Why their smiles appear fragile through the screen. That's not mere intuition. That's reality. The universe reminds them daily of the treasure they squandered. The unveiling chosen one. Do not feel guilty. Do not let whispers convince you your standards were too high or your heart too expansive. You weren't excessive. You were the precise answer to a prayer they once uttered, but forgot how to cherish. The universe witnessed every betrayal, every falsehood, every moment they delighted in your pain, every secret jest at your expense. The same force that placed you in their narrative is now extracting you for your safety and their lesson. Here's the twist they never foresaw. They believed the pain would crush you, yet it awakened you, sharpened your intellect, deepened your wisdom, and amplified your strength. They imagined breaking you would halt your destiny. Instead, it ignited your evolution. They don't yet comprehend it. But they weren't just a chapter. They were the plot twist that propelled you higher. They were the betrayal that birthed your breakthrough. So let them observe. Let them scroll. Let them linger on your page with regret pressing upon their chest. They lost a once-in-a-lifetime connection, sent to redefine their entire future. And now, they replay the moment they mishandled the rarest soul they'll ever encounter. You were the blessing. They treated you like a burden. Now the burden resides with them. They didn't just fall out of love. They walked away from their own blessing. The true tragedy isn't when they leave you. It's when they abandon their elevation and only recognize it after everything they touch crumbles. They didn't just sever a bond. They stepped out of alignment, out of flow, out of protection. The shift was immediate. Favor dried up, energy vanished, doors slammed shut, trusted relationships turned cold, peace slipped away like an unrecoverable dream. The cost of disrespect. Walking with a chosen soul means sharing authority, purpose, and safety. Betray that, and you don't simply lose affection, you lose alignment. No new partner, no party, no thrill can mend that void. They're restless, and you sense it. They observe from a distance, feigning contentment, but every smile has a crack. Every laugh feels forced. They speak about you more now than when they had you because regret screams when peace is absent. They thought they gained freedom only to imprison themselves. They believed they upgraded. Now they're surrounded by individuals who don't nourish their spirit, don't foster growth, and certainly don't shine as you do. You were medicine. They exchanged it for ego, temptation, shallow hype. Now life feels empty. Even money, attention, status seem lackluster because those only sparkle under genuine peace. Peace that departed when you did. Have you noticed their external brilliance but internal depletion? That's the outcome of faking joy through a spiritual deficit. This isn't merely heartbreak. It's cosmic retribution. You cannot betray someone sent to uplift you and expect your life to remain elevated. You were their cover, their favor, their mirror. You compelled them to introspect, confront truths, and aim higher. They loathed that spotlight because it exposed aspects they weren't prepared to heal. Now they're pursued not by specters, but by memories, by what-ifs, by your voice in silent rooms. Pride may muzzle their confession, but spirit never lies. You left an indelible mark. They could have built, healed, and triumphed with you, but they chose betrayal over blessing. And the universe doesn't bestow prizes for that choice. Regardless of the facade they present, they contend with friction every step. They attempt to move forward but feel tethered to the past. That's not nostalgia, that's the price of severing alignment with a chosen one. So, let them observe, let them speak, let them pretend. Beneath all that noise is a soul that knows it lost something rare, something sacred, something that won't reappear. They didn't just fall out of love. They exited their own alignment, and now they're enduring the consequences. The divine mirror and the unprepared soul, they were given the keys to a kingdom, yet tossed the blueprint into the flames. The real heartbreak isn't being betrayed, it's granting someone front row access to your soul only for them to stumble in, intoxicated, careless, and half awake. Let's be candid. This wasn't someone who didn't know better. They had full disclosure. They perceived every vulnerability you attempted to conceal, witnessed your loyalty manifest daily, and listened as your truth trembled in your throat. You provided a map to your heart, clear as day. Instead of guarding it, they incinerated it. Not because your value was imperceptible, but because their pride roared louder than their good sense. You never concealed who you were. You offered it raw and authentic. Loving you was effortless. Yet, they opted for chaos over care. Now, they cannot unsee you, cannot unfeel you. You linger like a restless ghost, residing rent-free in every recess of their mind. Each time they meet someone new, they measure that person against your shadow. Any attempt to replace you devolves into a hunt for your energy, a search that consistently yields nothing. That's because you weren't merely a date. You were a full-blown spiritual event. You weren't sent to learn a lesson, you were the evidence, the mirror, the test placed before them, and they failed spectacularly. Here's the harsh truth. People assume the chosen one is the one who must learn. Sometimes, however, the chosen one is proof, there to reveal if someone is ready for what they implore the universe to send. You were that answered prayer, but they were unprepared. Instead of acknowledging fear or immaturity, they attacked the very gift designed to elevate them. Imagine someone handed the crown jewels only to balance a coffee mug atop them. They treated access as ownership, kindness as a leash, and your steadfast presence as a perpetual guarantee. But chosen souls do not beg to be seen. We depart when we are mishandled, and we allow the ensuing silence to speak more profoundly than any words. History reiterates this pattern. Joseph's brothers cast him into a pit, too blind to perceive the greatness they were discarding. Frida Kahlo gave her heart to someone incapable of facing her pain, her fire, her truth. Malcolm X was assassinated by individuals within his own circle. Vincent van Gogh painted masterpieces while the world ridiculed him. Harriet Tubman risked everything for people who doubted her plan. Time and again, those bearing monumental purpose are betrayed by their closest associates. Betrayal, distance, then elevation. That's because harming a chosen one isn't just messy, it's a cosmic offense. It disrupts the plan laid out by the universe, and the universe always balances the books. It's not revenge, it's alignment. They attempted to bury the seed meant to cultivate them. So now, they harvest weeds where a garden could have flourished. When their superficial smiles crack, and that so-called new love feels counterfeit, they won't only recall what they lost, they'll remember how foolishly they handled it. They once possessed the master key to a kingdom they were too immature to govern. Now they press their faces against the glass while you construct what they refuse to safeguard. They treated solid gold like driveway gravel, and now every consequence bears their name. When someone mishandles a blessing, the universe doesn't simply observe, it responds. Let's deal with facts. What they held is something others yearn for, traverse lifetimes for, pray for, and they spat upon it. Not because it lacked luster, but because pride convinced them that something precious loses value once it's in their possession. A slow, cold drought is now commencing. When you treat gold like gravel, you don't merely lose treasure, you initiate a spiritual famine. They walked away not from a kind person, but from a sacred